My brother said Mom and Dad only had you out of pity in front of everyone. So I walked out with $50 and built a $20 million empire he'll never touch. Pause with me for just a moment. Subscribe to support this channel. And in the comments, share where you're watching from so we can celebrate our global community. The crystal chandelier above Mama's dining table caught the candlelight from my 25th birthday cake, casting fractured rainbows across faces I'd loved my entire life. I remember thinking how perfect everything looked. The table set with Grandma's china, the smell of Mama's peach cobbler mixing with expensive cologne, my family gathered in our childhood home in Atlanta's Cascade Heights. My older brother Marcus stood at the head of the table, glass raised, that familiar smirk playing at his lips. I should have known. I should have seen it coming. To my baby sister Imani, Marcus began, his voice carrying that smooth lawyer tone he'd perfected at Morehouse. Everyone smiled, waiting. 25 years of being the family's little surprise package. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. My stomach tightened. You know, Imani, I've been thinking about something lately. He swirled his wine, eyes glinting. Remember when you found those letters in Mama's closet? The fertility clinic bills. My breath caught. That was private. Turns out Mom and Dad only had you out of pity, Marcus announced, voice cutting through the sudden silence like a blade. After 3 miscarriages, they felt guilty about giving up. You weren't planned, sis. You were a consolation prize. The room froze. Mama's hand flew to her mouth. Daddy's face went ashen. But Marcus wasn't finished. Happy birthday to the accident nobody asked for. Time stopped. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I stood there, cake forgotten, candles melting into the frosting. 25 flames dying slowly like something inside me. My hands trembled against the tablecloth, the one Mama had embroidered with our family initials. Jenkins, a name I suddenly felt unworthy of carrying. Around me, shocked faces blurred together. My Aunt Cheryl gasped. My cousin Dion's mouth hung open. But what destroyed me wasn't their horror. It was the silence that followed. Mama didn't rush to correct Marcus. She just sat there, tears streaming down her brown cheeks, unable to meet my eyes. Daddy stared at his plate, jaw working like he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. The validation I desperately needed, the immediate, that's not true that should have come, never arrived. Instead, suffocating quiet filled the space where my defense should have been. Marcus straightened his tie, satisfied. Just thought you should know the truth on your special day. No more family secrets, right? His wife Nicole touched his arm, whispering something, but he brushed her off. My younger cousin Jayla started crying, and her mother ushered her toward the kitchen. I found my voice finally. Is it true? The question came out broken, barely audible. Mama's tears answered before her words could. Baby, it's complicated. Is true. I repeated louder this time. My voice cracked across the room like thunder. Daddy finally looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. Imani, we love you. That's all that matters. That's not what I asked. I was shouting now, something I'd never done at family dinner. The good daughter. The peacekeeper. The one who smoothed over Marcus's cruelty for 30 years because that's just how brothers are. Well, not anymore. Did you have me because you wanted me or because you felt guilty about failing? The word hung there. Failing. I watched it land on Mama like a physical blow. We wanted you, she whispered. But her hesitation had already told me everything. I saw Daddy's hand reach for hers under the table. Saw Marcus lean back in his chair, arms crossed, watching his bomb detonate exactly as planned. Why? I asked, looking directly at my brother. Why would you do this? Today? In front of everyone? Marcus shrugged, taking a long sip of wine. You've been walking around acting like you're special. Somebody needed to humble you. Humble me. I laughed, but it sounded wrong, hollow. Marcus, I've spent my entire life in your shadow. You're the Morehouse grad, the successful attorney, the one with the Mercedes and the house in Buckhead. What exactly did I do that was so threatening? His expression darkened. You started that little business. There was. 3 months ago, I'd launched a handmade jewelry company from Mama's basement. Nothing fancy, just wire-wrapped crystals and custom name pieces I sold at local markets and on Instagram. I'd made $6,000 last month. Pocket change compared to Marcus's 6-figure salary, but it was mine. I'd built it with my own hands, my own vision. That little business? I repeated slowly. You mean the one I started with $200 in a dream? The one that's actually profitable? Nicole, Marcus's wife, shifted uncomfortably. She'd asked me last week to make custom pieces for her boutique. I'd said yes, excited for the opportunity. Now I understood why Marcus had been so cold lately. You're embarrassing the family, Marcus said, voice low and dangerous. Selling trinkets like some street vendor. We're professionals, Imani. Act like it. Something inside me snapped. 30 years of being Marcus's punching bag. 30 years of being told I wasn't smart enough, pretty enough, successful enough. 30 years of watching Mama beam at his accomplishments while barely glancing at mine. 30 years of Daddy asking, why can't you be more like your brother? And now this. The revelation that I wasn't even truly wanted to begin with. I stood up so fast my chair crashed backward. You want to know something, Marcus? I'm done. My voice was steady now, cold. I'm done with your cruelty. Done with your ego. Done with being your emotional punching bag because you can't handle that I might actually be good at something. Imani, baby, sit down, Mama pleaded. Let's talk about this rationally. Rationally. I turned to her and she flinched at whatever she saw in my face. You let him humiliate me at my own birthday dinner. You let him expose private family information like it was nothing. And you want rational. I grabbed my purse from the side table. My hands were surprisingly steady. How much money do I have in my checking account right now, Mama? She blinked, confused. What? Answer me. I don't know, baby. $52.37. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app and showed them the screen. This is what the accident, the consolation prize, the pity baby has built. $52 in checking. $300 in savings. And you know what? That's more than enough. Marcus scoffed. You're being dramatic. Am I? I met his eyes and for the first time in my life I didn't look away first. You've spent your entire life trying to make me feel small because it made you feel big. But here's something you never understood, big brother. I don't need you. I don't need any of you. Imani, please, Daddy said, standing. Don't leave like this. Why not? According to Marcus, I was a mistake anyway. I headed toward the door, past the photographs on the wall. Marcus's graduation, Marcus's wedding, Marcus's partnership announcement. Noticeably fewer pictures of me. I'd always told myself it didn't matter. But it did. God, it did. Aunt Cheryl blocked my path. Sweetheart, he's drunk. He didn't mean. He meant every word. I gently moved past her. And you all let him say it. That's what I'll remember. My hand was on the doorknob when Marcus's voice stopped me. You'll be back. I turned around slowly. What did you say? Marcus stood at the end of the hallway, backlit by the dining room chandelier, looking every inch the golden child. You'll be back, he repeated. You always come back. Because you need us. You're weak, Imani. You always have been. I smiled then. Not a happy smile. A knowing one. Watch me prove you wrong. I walked out of that house, Out of that life, with $52, a phone charger and the clothes on my back. I didn't take my car because Daddy's name was on the title. Didn't go back for my things in the basement. Just walked down Cascade Road in my birthday dress and heels, past the big houses and manicured lawns, away from everything I'd ever known. My phone started ringing before I reached the bus stop. Mama, Daddy, Aunt Cheryl. I ignored them all. A text from my cousin Jayla came through. I believe in you. You're not a mistake. I read it 3 times, then put my phone on silent. The number 55 bus arrived at 9:47 p.m. I know because I checked my phone trying to decide if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. The bus dropped me at Peachtree Street. I had nowhere to go. No apartment. I'd been saving for a deposit, living in Mama's basement to cut costs while I built my business. No friends I could crash with at this hour. Just me, my anger, and that $52 burning a hole in my consciousness. I ended up at a 24-hour Waffle House, ordered coffee and hash browns and made it last 3 hours. The waitress, an older black woman named Dorothy with silver streaks in her locks, kept refilling my cup without asking. At 1 a.m. she slid into the booth across from me. You running from something or toward something? She asked. I looked up, surprised. What? Your eyes. I've seen that look before. My daughter had it when she left her husband. That's the look of somebody burning bridges. Dorothy tilted her head. The question is whether you've got something to build on the other side. I pulled out my phone, showed her my Instagram. I make jewelry. Had a little business going before tonight went to hell. Dorothy scrolled through my posts, nodding slowly. These are beautiful, baby. Real talent. Thank you, I whispered. You got somewhere to stay? Not yet. Dorothy studied me for a long moment. I could see her weighing something, making calculations I couldn't follow. Finally she sighed. I got a spare room above my garage. My daughter moved out 6 months ago. It's not fancy, just a bed, a bathroom and a hot plate. But it's yours for $300 a month if you want it. I blinked. You don't even know me. I know enough. She pulled out a napkin and wrote down an address. I close up here at 6 a.m. Meet me there if you're interested. And baby. Dorothy's hand covered mine. Whatever happened tonight, use it as fuel. I've seen too many young women let cruelty break them. Don't you be one of them. I made it to Dorothy's house in East Atlanta at 6:30 a.m. The room was exactly as promised. Small, clean, sparse. A twin bed with a handmade quilt. A bathroom the size of a closet. A hot plate on a mini fridge. But the window overlooked Dorothy's garden, and morning light streamed through the curtains she'd sewn herself. First month is free, Dorothy said from the doorway. Give you time to get on your feet. After that we'll talk. I wanted to refuse. Pride wouldn't let me accept charity. But then I remembered Marcus's voice. You're weak. You always have been. Fuck pride. I needed fuel, not ego. Thank you, I said. Dorothy nodded and closed the door. I spent the first week in survival mode. Reached out to everyone who'd bought from me before, offered custom pieces at a discount. Posted every day on Instagram telling my story, not the family drama but the dream, the vision, what I was building. My follower count grew from 300 to 3,000 in 5 days. Orders started coming in. $10 here, $20 there. I bought supplies with the money, fulfilling orders from Dorothy's kitchen table while she worked nights at the Waffle House. She'd come home at dawn to find me bent over pliers and wire, crystals scattered across her tablecloth like stars. You sleep at all? She'd ask. Sleep is for people who have the luxury, I'd answer. By week 3 I'd made $1,800. By week 6 $5,000. I opened an Etsy shop, started shipping nationwide. A blogger in New York featured my work. then a boutique in Los Angeles, then another in Chicago. The orders became overwhelming, in the best possible way. I was working 16-hour days, my fingers raw from wire wrapping, my eyes burning from staring at tiny beads. My phone kept ringing. Mama. Daddy. Even Nicole, Marcus's wife, calling to apologize. I didn't answer. I was too busy proving a point. 6 months after walking out of that birthday dinner, I hired my first employee, Jayla, my younger cousin, the one who'd sent that text. She was 19, studying business at Georgia State and needed work that fit around her classes. She became my production assistant, my shipping manager, my right hand. Marcus is pissed, she told me one afternoon while we packaged orders. He keeps asking Aunt Keisha about you. Wants to know how you're surviving. What does Mama tell him? Jayla grinned. Nothing. She doesn't know anything. You cut them all off completely. Good. Let them wonder. Let Marcus stew in his assumptions about my weakness. I was building something he could never touch. Not with his money, his connections, or his cruelty. By month 9 I'd made $40,000. By month 12 $90,000. I moved out of Dorothy's garage into a small studio, then into a one-bedroom, then into a loft in West Midtown with enough space for a proper workshop. I hired 3 more employees, expanded my product line, landed a contract with a major department store. The business exploded. Year 2 brought in $300,000. Year 3, $800,000. Year 4, $2 million. I named the company Phoenix Rising Jewelry. Let them all draw their own conclusions. 5 years after Marcus destroyed my birthday, I stood in my flagship store in Atlantic Station, watching customers browse displays I'd designed myself. Phoenix Rising had become a phenomenon, featured in Vogue, worn by celebrities, sold in high-end boutiques across the country. We'd grossed $20 million last year. 20 million. And every single piece still carried my vision, my touch, my refusal to stay small. My phone buzzed. Dorothy's name flashed on the screen. We still talked weekly, had dinner monthly. She'd been at every milestone, every victory, crying proud tears while I thanked her in speeches. You see who's at your door? She asked without preamble. I glanced at the security camera feed on my iPad. My heart stuttered. There, standing outside my store, was my entire family. Mama in her Sunday best. Daddy in his suit. Aunt Cheryl. Cousin Dion. Nicole looking uncomfortable. And Marcus, hands shoved in his pockets, jaw tight. I see them, I said quietly. You gonna let them in? I watched them through the camera for a long moment. Mama kept touching Daddy's arm. Marcus kept checking his watch. They looked older. Smaller somehow. Or maybe I'd just grown larger than their ability to diminish me. Yeah, I decided. I'm gonna let them in. I unlocked the door myself. They filed in silently, taking in the gleaming displays, the customers, the staff members bustling around in Phoenix Rising uniforms. I saw the moment Mama recognized my jewelry on a woman browsing near the window. The moment she understood the scale of what I'd built. Hi, Mama, I said. Daddy. Mama burst into tears immediately. Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I let her hug me, but I didn't soften. Not yet. My eyes found Marcus over her shoulder. He stood apart from everyone, staring at a display case like he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. $20 million last year, I said conversationally, extracting myself from Mama's embrace. We're on track for $30 million this year. I have 80 employees now. 3 retail locations. Contracts with stores in 12 countries. I smiled at Marcus. Not bad for a pity baby with $52 and a dream. Marcus's jaw worked. Imani. I'm not finished. My voice carried across the store and I didn't care who heard. You told me I was weak. An accident. A consolation prize. You said I'd come crawling back. Well, here I am, Marcus. Not crawling. Not begging. Standing in my empire, the one you'll never touch, offering you a choice. What choice? He asked quietly. Apologize. Mean it. And maybe we can start to rebuild. Or leave. Keep your pride. Keep your assumptions. But know that door. I pointed to the exit. That's the last time you walk through anything I've built unless you come correct. The store went silent. Even the customers had stopped to watch. Marcus stood there for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly he crossed the distance between us. And for the first time in our lives, my big brother, the golden child, the one who'd spent 30 years making me feel small, got down on his knees in my store and wept. I'm sorry, he sobbed. God, Imani, I'm so sorry. You were never a mistake. I was jealous. You had something I never could. You had heart. And I tried to kill it because I couldn't stand that you might succeed without me paving the way. I looked down at him, at my family watching, at Dorothy who'd slipped in through the back door. And I made my choice. Get up, Marcus, I said, extending my hand. We've got a lot of work to do. He took it. And in that moment, with my family finally seeing me, really seeing me, I understood something profound. I hadn't built this empire to prove them wrong. I'd built it to prove myself right. The accident, the consolation prize, the pity baby? She was gone. In her place stood Imani Jenkins, self-made millionaire, phoenix who rose from the ashes, woman who turned $52 in pure determination into an empire that no one, not Marcus, not fear, not doubt, could ever take away. That's the story I tell now. Not the one about betrayal, but the one about the fire that forged me. And baby, I'm still burning bright.